The Avon Project of the O'Connor House has these posters, and what's been advanced with the posters is putting the QR code on them so that someone with a phone can take you to a website where there's resources.
And what the campaign is aimed at is 3 different groups. The victims, so that they know that there are resources out there for them. They don't have to stay in domestic violence situations, but they need to choose the time that's right for them to leave. Secondly, the community at large, because people don't really understand how pervasive the problem is and how much it affects every single person, even people who aren't victims of domestic violence. And then finally, we'd like to reach the decision makers in Arizona and across the country, because they're the ones that are making policy or not making policy to help curb this problem. It's just getting bigger, and we haven't found a good solution. So education is our first step.
And what we did in the city is we asked that they be placed in restrooms. And the reason for that is that is one area that we know victims frequently have privacy, and that would be a way for them to get this information in a private manner for when they're ready to use it. And that even if it's not a victim, it may be somebody who knows a victim, so this would be a resource that they could keep and have it ready for when the victim is in a position to utilize the resource.
There are a lot of issues that come and go, and the issue du jour happens to be the one that is the most on the media, or the one that the candidates were talking about in the election or whatever. But domestic violence is an issue that's been around forever, and it has not gotten better. We need people who are committed to solving this particular problem, and Ellie Finn is one of those people.
Domestic violence has been my passion since I've been a judge, and I became involved with domestic violence issues because those are a lot of the cases we handled in Phoenix, and those are a lot of the cases that we handled here in Glendale. And what I saw was that there were portions of the law and the process that was not really keeping up with the issues concerning domestic violence. So I've been involved in revising the law, protective order forms, specialty courts for domestic violence. It's very important to keep the victim engaged in the system, have the victim be aware of what resources are available to them. And I think the most important thing is that we need to realize that the victim's in the best position to judge their level of danger, not us as society. We need to make those services available, and we need to make sure that the processes are in place to connect that victim with the system throughout the process of whatever the situation may be. But that victim's the one that has to make the decision, when is it safe for me to leave? And that's what's so wonderful about the posters, is that they can keep that information and utilize it when they make that decision that now is the time for me to take some kind of action. If you came to Glendale City Court and wanted to get a protective order, or you weren't sure, we have a grant-funded bilingual advocate who will sit here and do safety planning with you. They have resources to help for housing and for food, but they're not going to tell you, you have to leave now. That individual who's in the abusive relationship has got to make the decision on when it's safe for them to leave, but there are things that they can do to plan to leave.
I think if you talked to some of the victims and you heard some of their stories firsthand, you'd understand why there are people who don't give up. Because you can't give up. These people rely on us, the community, to support them and to help them get out of abusive situations, and to help the abusers understand why they use violence as a method of controlling someone. As Ellie said, our goal is not to put people in jail. Our goal is to provide safe households, not only for the victims, but for their children.
Well, I think it's important for the citizens of Glendale to know that domestic violence is taken very seriously here, and that we're looking at this campaign, if you would, from an awareness perspective. That's why the posters are out there, so that whether you're in an abusive relationship or not, the information is available, but that we've also applied for and received over $1.5 million in Federal Department of Justice domestic violence grants in Glendale since '05, and that we continue to work on enhancements to the entire system, not just to the court.